Alright, this is going to be an oil change tutorial on a 2014 Kia Sorento V6. If you have the 4-cylinder, yeah, this video is going to be probably not for you. But if you got the V6, yeah, we'll show you how to properly do an oil change. So, yeah, basically you're going to need 6 quarts of 530 oil. Whatever brand you prefer is fine. Oil filter. This is the really important one, a 27 millimeter socket. That's going to be for your oil filter cap. 17 millimeter 3/8 socket. A pick. You can buy these like hook and pick sets online and stuff. Real cheap. I'll show you what this is for. It's going to be a white paint marker. And this is for you folks that don't have a torque wrench. And we'll show you what to do with that in a second. If you have a torque wrench, the torque wrench will be to torque the oil filter cap to 25 pound-feet. On this video, I'm going to show you how to do it without the torque wrench, just in case a lot of you out there probably don't have one. So we'll show you how to do it without that. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so yeah, again, this is the V6, just to be clear. We'll go ahead and the first thing you're going to do is pop this cover off. Real easy. In the 4 corners, it's got little things that just snap down, so you just do a quick, hard kind of a, just snap it up. And it just comes right off. No tools needed. Just take the cover right off. Not going to hurt it. Let me set that aside. So yeah, the first thing we're going to do is find our oil filter cap, which is right here. Now, you want to inspect this. If everything's really dry and everything looks normal, there's no problems going on, chances are the person before you probably tightened this properly and everything, and you're going to be fine. So what you're going to want to do is clean this off really good with like a rag or a paper towel or something that's got some, like, you know, rubbing alcohol on or something. Kind of degrease it and degrease a little bit around the housing right in this section here. So let's clean that up, and yeah, and then we'll show you what to do. Okay, so yeah, we'll just kind of clean that up and clean just one little spot of the below the cap there on the housing. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our white paint marker, and I'll show you what to do with that next. So yeah, just take your little white paint marker and we'll mark a mark on the housing below the cap, and then we'll mark the cap itself. And that'll be our little alignment mark, so when we're tightening that up, we'll just tighten it to that mark, and that'll be a close enough on the torque, because obviously it was right before. It's not leaking and all that stuff. It's good. So as long as when we tighten it to that mark, our torque spec should be good enough for the women we run with. So let's go with that. So next we'll go ahead and crawl under the car and start draining the oil. We're going to do that last, so we haven't undone that yet. We'll drain the oil first. But another thing too, it helps to have the car on ramps. You have a lot more room to work with. And it's really worth it to invest in good ramps. I mean, these ones got a little like dip where the wheel can sit, and it's a lot safer. Keeps the car, I mean, it helps hold the car right there, so it's not going to like accidentally roll back on us or something. So anyway, And it's always good to put a little wheel chock or something on the back wheel, of course, and set your e-brake. Definitely want to do that. Okay, so up under the car here, somewhere is the oil pan drain, which is kind of like hiding out right there. It's like, it looks like it's covered up. And I'm just noticing we got a little bit of sweat coming here from something on this car, but we're not going to worry about that today. So let's get our 17 millimeter wrench on there. Now when you're under the car, it's easy to get confused and you don't know which way is tightening and loosening. So if you set your socket wrench to loosening when you're like just standing, then when you get under here it's already set and you don't have to worry about getting confused. So we'll break that free. Okay. Obviously you want to kind of set your pan further back than the bolt because it's going to come shooting out of there. You know, it's going to want to fall backwards like that. So let's go ahead and see how much of a mess we can make here. Another thing I want to mention too is that it helps to have the car like just a little bit warm. There we go. But you can see how far that's wanting to shoot back, so it helps to have the pan a little bit back. So, and of course, you know, it's a good time to, you know, clean this drain plug off, check the threads, check the gasket on it, stuff like that. So obviously this one looks pretty good. I think it was replaced last time, so we'll clean that up before we put it back in. So anyway, we'll let the oil drain now. And well, that was a close one. Yeah, don't be like me. Buy yourself a larger drain catcher thing, pan. Yeah, that was close. That was really close. So, yeah. Either way, this thing has been dripping for 100 years now, so I think we could sit and wait for it. You know, I swear when you're changing oil, they could sit and drip forever, and it just gets to that point where it's like, okay, you've got enough of the oil out. It's time to put the drain plug back in. So let's do that. So yeah, we've cleaned up the drain plug. Nice and clean. Now we'll kind of just give this guy a little bit of a wipe up here. You know, I need to put some light on this camera. There we go. That might help. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of wipe around that just a little bit just to make sure there's no dirt, sand, stuff like that where the bolt tightens up. So that's good enough. And again, we could sit here and let it drip for 5 million years and I'm just like over it. So anyway, yeah, let's tighten that sucker up. Now don't be afraid to put a little bit of muscle into this. Seriously, because I always give it one good, you know, bit of muscle there. Make sure it's tight because you don't want that thing losing torque. Now you don't want to use an air ratchet or something on it, it could strip it out. But if you're tightening it with like a 3/8 socket and a wrench, you can definitely put a little bit of muscle into it and you're not going to hurt it. So yeah, it's definitely tight. We're gonna go ahead and call that good. So yeah, the draining of oil is complete. Okay, so we got our 27 millimeter socket and wrench on the oil filter cap housing thing. So I think what I'm going to do is just to crack it loose, because this is plastic. If we just like try to loosen it, it starts to kind of want to bend on that plastic housing and stuff, and I don't like that. So I'm just going to kind of give the wrench a little tap with the mallet, and there we go. So you can see our white mark moved. We're now coming loose, so we can now loosen that sucker up. And I never liked these plastic caps because they fit so tight. You know, even when it's loose and it's still turning like pretty hard, and it's not cross-threaded or anything. It's just something with the plastic. It gets hot over time, just all the cold and heat cycles, and the plastic probably warps a little bit or something. I don't know, and it just... So yeah, just don't be alarmed if it's a little bit stiff that way. It's just the way the plastic housing is. So anyway, I think that's good. Okay. So yeah, the cap just lifts up, and underneath you're going to find your little filter. Just go ahead and let your cap drain out or whatever. Back down into the housing there. Okay, good enough. We'll set our cap aside. And let me grab a rag. So yeah, there's this filter here. Just pull straight up, just kind of wiggle it. Stuff like that, and it'll just pull right out. Okay, and I'll just kind of get a rag to catch that. So all right, sorry I had a little phone interruption there. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, let me get some stuff ready, and we'll show you how to put it all back together. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is, if you look at your cap, you got a skinny little groove there, a skinny one there, and the third groove you got this thick O-ring, and that's what your little pick is going to be for. You just want to take your pick and grab that O-ring. Try not to poke your finger like I just did. And yeah, just remove that O-ring, and you can toss that away, because your oil filter will come with a brand new O-ring. And you want to change that every single time you do this. And a lot of times the oil filter will also come with like a drain plug gasket, new one of those. I didn't need to use that, so I'm not going to bother with that, but mine was like brand new still. So, and yeah, either way, we'll get that O-ring out of there, and we'll get that put on. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our O-ring on. Again, it's going to go in the third groove down. It's just kind of this wide groove. You want to make sure you don't get it in this fourth groove, because that's where the threads are. So let's just, you can stretch it, you're not going to break it. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to break that. So yeah, and just kind of work it down into that proper groove there. There we go. You know, make sure it's fully seated in the groove. So again, two really skinny grooves from the top of the cap, two skinny ones, and it's going to be that third kind of wider groove that it fits into there. All right. And another thing, we want to make sure we don't accidentally rub off our little white line there. Okay, so we got the O-ring on our cap. Next, we'll take a look down inside the housing. Everything looks good. Now, if you look down inside that housing, you got a big hole in the middle and a little hole on the side. And yeah, I don't know if you can, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, so you got a big hole and a small hole over to that kind of right side there. Well, when you put the filter down in there, that little nipple goes down and fits inside that little hole down there. So, what I like to do is take good old-fashioned Vaseline, petroleum jelly, whatever you want to call it, and just go ahead and lube up that O-ring good on that nipple there. Alright. And if you don't have Vaseline, you can just use oil or something. Lube that nipple a little bit. That doesn't need any lubrication. And yeah, we'll put this back down in. Of course, the nipple goes down because it's got to go in that little hole. So, yeah. Oh, you know what? Just for fun, let's lube that hole there. That never hurts. That's one thing I like about petroleum jelly. It does not hurt your engine at all. Not at all. It just melts right into the oil, and if anything, probably helps lubricate stuff. So, yeah, got a nice clean new filter. We lubed our little nipple down there. We lubed up the hole in the middle. Now we can drop that down in there. And you'll feel it, you know, go all the way down. I mean, you could hear it, you know, you feel it moving down. You know you got it good. It's nice and tight, you know. Just push it down a couple times. Make sure it's fully seated. Definitely is. So we're good to go. Make sure it's centered. Yeah, it looks good. That's perfect. So, now what we'll do... Again, this is a plastic housing, and this is why I do this, because these plastic things, again, when you try to tighten it up, it wants to go on real stiff and everything. Kind of drives me nuts. So I'm just going to liberally lube up the O-ring good with some of this Vaseline. And again, you can use oil too. Just take some 530 oil or something, but I like this Vaseline. Vaseline always works, you know, it just seems to always get the job done. I like to get it in the threads and stuff, and it'll help everything. And again, you're not going to hurt the engine. I mean, you can use a lot of Vaseline. You're not going to hurt it. Or you can use oil. It doesn't matter. Whatever you like to use. So, yeah, we definitely got good you know, I like to make sure there's a good layer on top of that O-ring there. He'll definitely seal real good when we're done. Okay, let me try to wipe my hand off a little bit here. Alright, so now go ahead and put that on. Now if you look in there, there's a little thing that fits down inside where that yellow part is there, so we'll just kind of... It's always good to kind of start it backwards and make sure we're not cross-threading anything, which we definitely aren't. It's going on nice. See, now I hit that stiff spot. It drives me nuts. And again, that's because it's plastic. That's why. my gosh, I just can't believe how stiff that thing is. It just drives me insane. I feel like I'm going to break the housing or something. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're fully seated. So obviously we know we're not going to make another full revolution. So you can see how close we're getting to our torque line there. So now we can just tighten it until we line up. Okay, yeah, that's definitely close to 25 pound-feet because I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on the wrench. So whoever changed it before obviously had it torqued, properly, Anyway, I'm going to put the phone down so I can use both hands here. If I can, there we go. Hopefully the camera don't fall on me. There we go. Look at that. That looks pretty close, don't you think? I'd say that's about where it was at. So yeah, it looks like we got her torqued good. Now again, if you have a torque wrench, again, just a reminder, 25 pound-feet on that plastic cap. So just a reminder on that. So there you have it. Next, we'll go ahead and put some oil in it. All right, yeah, let's add some oil. Just remove our cap. As you can see, it calls for 530. I'll start with our single quart. Again, it takes 6 quarts, so... Cool, oil's full. Got 6 quarts in it. Okay. So yeah, I like to kind of stand back and think before I try to start the car. Okay, so we drained the oil, got that out, we torqued the drain plug, so we know that's good. We changed the oil filter. We torqued and tightened up our cap. We got everything lined up inside. We got a new O-ring on it. Got our marks lined up. Proper tightness there. We put 6 quarts of oil in it. Got our dipstick is installed. Cap is tight. No reason we shouldn't be able to start this. It's always good to just think about it because something silly could happen. You might forget to add the oil or something. Yes, try to start the car and there goes your engine, So it's good to just stand back and think for a second before you just fire the thing up. So next thing what we'll do is we'll start it up and we'll leave the top of the engine cover off, and we just want to check for any leaks around here. Make sure that's sealed up good. We'll check underneath the car, make sure our drain plug is not leaking. And then when we're done with that, we'll show you how to put the cover back on the engine, and then that'll complete the video. Okay guys, so yeah, we got it full of oil. Everything's tightened up, new filter. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Now it might clatter just a little bit until it gets oil up in it. So don't be alarmed if you hear that for a second or two when you start it. I don't know if you could hear that or not. It clattered just a little bit. That's typical until that oil gets going through the motor. So, and I forgot to mention too, before we started this oil change, you see that cold mark on the temp gauge. If we do it right when it reaches that first little tick mark there, so it's all the way cold, when it comes up just to that first little tick mark, just off of the cold mark there, that's a really good temperature to change the oil. We don't want to do it at full operating temperature when it's in the middle there, because we would be burning our hands and stuff. So just a little tidbit there. And if you do it bone cold, that's hard too, because you know the oil doesn't want to drain out. It's thicker and everything. So either way, let's get under the hood and check for leaks. I don't see anything. I mean, it's a little bit oily just because from myself, but I don't see any problems here. So yeah, let's check underneath it. Everything looks good. The pan's a little sweaty. Again, I'll have to check, see what that's about. So yeah, we'll just dump our old oil into the containers that we just dumped out our fresh oil out of. And then we can take it to a local oil dump and get rid of that. So anyway, lastly, we will go ahead and install the engine cover. If you look on the engine, you got little nipples sticking up. There's one there, one there. One here, and one here. If you look on the engine cover, you got the 4 holes where it sets down on those nipples there. So we'll go ahead and line that up. You can kind of see the one front one there. It's just behind that oil cap. I don't know if you can see that down there. So we got that one's pretty easy to line up, and then we'll go ahead and just give it a quick little push. You can feel it pop on. There it is. That's all there is to it. Just pops right on. So yeah, I hope this helps somebody. That's oil change on the 2014 V6 Sorento.